In this video, I'm going to show you the most common questions that Wingstop ask in their interviews. And I'm going to help you plan the sort of answers that are going to get you through the interview and help you get hired. So let's look at the first question that is the most common and comes up in virtually every single interview. And that is simply, what is your availability? They're going to be super interested in knowing what times you can actually work. And a lot of people don't answer this well. So I'm going to show you how you can actually provide a really good, strong answer, because a strong answer here will really help you get hired. So fundamentally, there's four things you need to get in your answer. The first thing is you want to show that you have flexibility. The more flexibility you can offer, the better you look as a candidate. The second thing is you want to actually say what Wingstop want to hear. Imagine if you owned a Wingstop franchise and you were trying to staff your location. What sort of answers would you want to hear? That's what we're going to think about. I'm going to give you suggestions of things that business owners at Wingstop actually like to hear. Then you want to demonstrate a can-do attitude. So the way people mess up this question is by saying, I can't work this time, I can't work this time, I can't work this time. It's very negative, and it means that perhaps there's so much in your life that's way more important than your job. You don't take your job very seriously, and there's all these reasons why you can't work all these times, and you're going to be a nuisance and a hassle to deal with because they're going to have to schedule everything around you because you can't work all these times. That's going to be very negative. So you want to focus on what you can do. And the other thing that's important is that you demonstrate some commitment. If you go straight into this question saying the times that you can't work, that causes them to question your commitment. So it's a really bad way to answer it. So always focus on what you can do. The next thing you need to do is start planning the perfect answer. So I'm going to give you various phrases and you can choose which ones best suit your particular circumstances. And remember, I'm giving you the things that they want to hear. And if you can say these phrases, it's going to help you get hired. So the first one that's really the best answer to this question, because it covers everything, and if it does apply, I would use it. So you say, I can work the full range of Wingstop opening hours. So that basically says I could work anytime, which it really is the perfect answer. You could also say I can be very flexible and work around business needs. So you're happy to be scheduled when they need people and you're showing lots of flexibility. You could say if you want more work, you can say I'm looking to work as many hours as you can offer and I'm open to overtime. That's quite a useful thing to volunteer. And also, if you do have an interest in taking on more hours and you want to increase your earnings, now is a good time to mention that. Then you could say, I can do evening and weekend shifts if needed. That's also helpful to mention, and they may ask about those times. And again, you want to say yes as much as possible. If you're saying no to that, remember that is the times that Wingstop locations are more busy. So it's good to preempt the question and just go straight in there with you could work evenings and weekends if needed. The next thing you have to be aware of is they often ask a question around, do you have reliable transportation? So just have in your head an answer ready for that. So if you drive, that's a simple one to answer. If you live nearby, you can say you can walk or cycle. That's perfectly reliable. If you are using public transport, that's fine. Just what I would suggest is have a plan B. So what if the bus wasn't running? So you'll say things like you're going to take the slightly earlier bus or the slightly earlier train to make sure you get there on time. And in the unlikely event that the bus was cancelled, I do know people, for example, my parents, they would be able to drive me there on occasion to make sure that I made that shift. So a plan B is always good to have just in case to back up an answer around public transport. So that's how you answer this question. What is your availability? Really, really well. It's all to do with showing off as much flexibility as you can and saying yes and being open-minded, and that's how you're successful. The next question you definitely need to be ready for is, what do you know about Wingstop? Obviously, if you do get asked this question and you don't have very good knowledge about the company, you only know what the very basic facts are, it's not going to look good. You've got to be prepared for this question. So the good news for you is I'm going to help you with your preparation. So the way that you answer this question is very simple. You start by covering the super basic facts. We're in the middle of that diagram, and then you're going to work out. The next thing you do is you show you've actually done some research by dropping in some facts that only some people would know. And then to show you've done some excellent preparation, you drop in a few facts in your answer that only people who've actually done lots of research would actually know. And that's how you impress them. So let's go through the facts that you're going to take to your interview. And we're going to start with the very basic, obvious one. So they are a restaurant chain. That is how you start your answer. Wingstop is a restaurant chain. It is led by buffalo-style chicken wings. That's their most famous, most popular product. It's not the only thing they sell, but you are going to know the menu and you're going to be able to talk about it. The next thing you say is that it's aviation themed. So you're going to see lots of aircraft related decoration. They focus on 1930s or 1940s era decor. So you're thinking about Second World War and before that, that sort of era, that sort of style. They are very nostalgic. That's why they've got the 30s, 40s decor. That's a very nostalgic time period for many, many customers. So they're founded in Garland, Texas. That's where the first store was. It's expanded internationally, so it's not just in the United States. They've expanded to other countries. They're very fast growing and they're adding stores all the time. So there's going to be great opportunities for people to grow with the business. They were founded in 1994 by Antonio Swad, and he was the person that opened the first restaurant in Garland, Texas. They are franchise led, so the vast majority of the stores are not owned by Wingstop, so you're not necessarily applying to the company, you're applying to a franchise. That could be one person who owns one location, or it could be someone or a company that owns a group of locations. And so if you can, it's helpful to find out what you're actually applying to. They are listed on what's called the NASDAQ, so they are listed on a stock exchange. That's giving you an idea how big they are. They do have Wingstop charities and they do give back to their local communities. My top tip to be really well prepared is, since they are listed on the stock market, you can actually read that little bit more about the company. So I would suggest that you could look up the Wingstop annual report, have a quick read of it. I don't mean read every single word, and it'll tell you about their strategy, how the business is doing, and a bit about the company. And by reading that, it will really help you understand the business. The other thing you definitely need to do is actually look up the menu and have some familiarity and know what they actually sell. So I'm not saying memorize the menu, I'm saying read it and have a feeling for exactly what the company offers. And that's how you answer this question. Feel free to take notes of all of these facts. You want to say as many of these as you can remember in your interview, or if you want, you can screenshot this particular slide and learn it to go to your interview. So let's now move on and look at a question that they often ask towards the beginning, which is, can you tell me about yourself? This question may seem simple, but it's actually very badly answered by lots of people. They're not, for example, interested in where you were born and what your hobbies are and going into detail about things that are not really that relevant. It is a great opportunity to show that you are an amazing hire. And the way you do that is by focusing your answer around three key areas that you're going to talk about. Your experience. So what jobs have you done in the past? How's that going to make you good at this job? Desirable qualities. What things are Wingstop looking for in employees, and do you have those? And if you do, you're going to have to say that. Show them that you've got the right qualities. And then explain at the end of your answer why you actually applied for the job. So you're matching yourself to the job, which is what they're trying to do in the interview. They're saying, are you the right person for this job? And you're saying, this is the right job for me. This is a good way to strengthen your case for being hired. So let's start with your experience. The simple thing you do is you describe your career history. So what jobs have you had in the past? Then what you do is you emphasize those with customer service. Any jobs where you've dealt with customers, you're going to talk about much more. Tell them much more about those ones because they are the ones that are most related to your Wingstop job. And then what you want to do is show off the skills that you gained. For example, if you'd worked in a supermarket, you've worked with customers, you've dealt with complaints, you have built up a bank of useful skills and you can talk about that. The next thing you do is you think about what qualities would Wingstop want in their employees. And I'm going to give you a list of ones that you can mention. So you could say that you're highly professional, that when you are working for the company, you are representing them and you're putting on a uniform and you are the face of the brand and you're going to behave in a professional way when you're doing that. Say that you're highly reliable, that you're going to be there on time. If you have an excellent track record with attendance, so you don't miss shifts, you're always on time and you're not taking loads and loads of days off, that is important to an employer. If you've got a good attendance track record, say it. And if you can back that up with a reference from another employer, that's a really good thing to have. If you look at the job description, so actually look at the job you applied for, it will tell you a list of things that they are looking for. Remember what's on that list and say, when you're describing yourself, as many of those as you can. Then explain your interests. So say things like, I love working in restaurants. If you have experience of working in restaurants before, say that that's something you really enjoy. that you've got good experience as a Wingstop customer, that this is somewhere where you've actually had a meal before and you thought it was brilliant, and be really positive and enthusiastic about it. And then if you're looking to work in a restaurant, obviously you want to be working with customers. So you could say something like, you're currently looking for a customer facing role and Wingstop is a perfect match for me. So you're linking yourself to the job, which is a good thing to do in this question. So basically, talk about your experience, focusing on your skills, list all of the qualities that you have. I've given you suggestions about them, and look at the job description and then explain why you actually applied for it, and you'll have a brilliant answer to this. The next one we want to look at is, how would you deal with a customer complaint? Because when you're working in a restaurant, sometimes customers will make complaints. Sometimes their complaint is completely valid. Sometimes their complaint is silly, but it doesn't matter. You're always going to deal with it properly. So let's look at the things that you say in this question. So the first thing you'll say is you'll de-escalate if needed. So if the customer is being very angry or aggressive, you're going to calm the situation down. You're not going to have an argument with them. You're not going to raise your voice. You are going to stay calm. That's the first thing that you always reassure them on. Then you say that you're going to actively listen to the customer. When a customer is making a complaint, the number one thing that they want is someone to actually listen to them. And if you look like you're not taking the complaint seriously, that is going to really annoy the customer and make them have a very negative experience. So make sure that you're carefully listening to what their complaint is and you are trying deeply to understand their complaint. Then you want to say you're going to understand the desired resolution. So what is it that the customer actually wants? What has gone wrong? What do they want to fix it? What do they suggest is the resolution? Then you're going to say you're going to follow Wingstop's policies. Just simple thing you say, that when you're resolving the customer's complaint, you're always going to be mindful of following the correct policies. For example, if you need to get a manager's approval for something, you are going to get your manager involved and get their approval. You're not going to just start doing things and making it all up. You're going to follow the policies and the training that you have been given. And then the last thing you say is you're going to work to resolve the issue, to resolve the complaint, and deliver good customer service. Basically, you want to take a negative experience and turn it into a positive. You want that customer to say, yes, something went wrong, they got something wrong, not great, but they dealt with it brilliantly, they fixed it and they left and they're really happy. That's what you want to happen. So basically, de-escalate if needed, show you're listening, understand what they want to fix the complaint, follow the policies, and then deliver great customer service. And that's how you fly through that question. So basically, go through each thing there and you have a brilliant answer. The last question before we look at some questions that you could ask them at the end of your interview is, why do you want to work for Wingstop? And this is a super important question, and they're going to be super interested in your answer. So let's look at the things that you need to say. The first thing I always suggest for this question is to think about what you would enjoy about working at Wingstop. So when they ask, why do you want to work here? You basically explain that I would really enjoy working at Wingstop because. Have you worked, for example, in a restaurant before and you really enjoyed it? Do you like working with the customers? Are you passionate about the food that Wingstop serves? Is this going to be your perfect job? And explain that you're going to really enjoy doing that job and you've done it in the past if you have. That's how you start this question, is thinking about what you're going to enjoy about it. Then explain why it's a match for your skills and experience. Are you someone that is really good at dealing with customers, really good at delivering good customer service? Have you worked in a similar role before? So look at what you're applying for, look at your previous experience, and explain why this Wingstop job is a perfect match for your skills. Then you want to think about what you actually like about Wingstop. Have you been a customer here before? Have you had really positive experiences? Do you think their food is brilliant? These are things that you can mention. You could also talk about the fact that you want to work for a growing company because you think that the fact the company is growing very quickly is going to provide you with good opportunities for a longer term career. And then whatever you do, make sure you're being enthusiastic. So enthusiasm is going to help you get through this question positively. The more enthusiastic you are, the more you look like someone who really seriously wants this job and is actually going to take the job very seriously. There are certain things, however, that you must not mention, and if you do, it can ruin your whole interview. So don't say things like, I live near a Wingstop. That suggests you're only applying here because it's convenient to you and you would apply to basically anybody as long as you could walk there easily. That's really negative. Don't give them the idea that you're just applying for this job because you have to get money and that this is just something to earn money and you don't really care where you work, it's just as long as you get paid. Don't give them the idea that you'll do this job until you get a better job. Don't talk about leaving the company before you've even got the job. Leaving is not a discussion that you have during an interview. It's the wrong time. And then basically anything that Wingstop really doesn't care about. They want to hear about your skills, your experience, and why this is the perfect job for you. They don't want to hear about anything that's not relevant to the job. So that's how you ace this question. So I would suggest that before you go to your interview, you do some basic bullet points and you have an answer ready to go. Don't make this up on the spot because it'll not be as good as something that you've planned. So bullet points, learn it, be ready to go. And then before we finish, here's some good questions that you can ask at the end of your Wingstop interview, because at the end they will say, do you have any questions for us? And if you say no, it's very negative. You've got to have questions ready to go. So the first one you could ask is, you basically explain, I'm really interested in this job, and therefore could you please explain what happens next in the hiring process at Wingstop? So show that you're really interested in getting the job and you care about what happens next. Then you could say, can you tell me more about the team and organization you have here at Wingstop? Show an interest in your colleagues and that you are really interested in learning about who you're going to be working with, and that that's something that you care about, and be really, really interested in their answer. Another one you could ask is, what do you personally enjoy most about working at Wingstop? And then when they suggest the things that they like, you can agree with them and say that that's something I would really enjoy as well. Then you could say, what makes a really great Wingstop employee? And when they explain what they think good employees look like, you can link that to your skills and experience and qualities and show that you have some of the characteristics of great employees and that that's what you strive for. And you can try to make up one question on the day to show that you're listening to what they are saying, but there's certain things that you must avoid asking about. So you never ask about transferring to another Wingstop location. For example, you could be applying to one Wingstop location that's a franchise owned by the person who's interviewing you, and you're asking about moving to somebody else's business. That's not going to help them. They're not going to be happy about that. Don't ask about holidays, and you don't want to be going to a job interview and saying, I can't start for 3 weeks. Can you just not have a person that you're trying to hire and wait for me until I could finally join you? That's going to really hurt your chance of getting the job. So I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please like and subscribe below and post in the comments what questions Wingstop asked in your interviews. And finally, thank you very much for watching.